We're going to make you the president of a developing country. And you have a problem or opportunity, El Presidente. Your country has petroleum reserves deep in the earth in a remote area. So it's going to be very hard to reach it, but what are your options? You have this resource. Should you just leave it in the ground, or should you use that resource in an intelligent, good way to help your people? That's the challenge. And you basically have two choices. One of them is called foreign direct investment, and the other is the economic hitman. Let's take a look at those two. In foreign direct investment, companies with an interest in the petroleum will contract with their country's government for drilling rights. This company might be, if in case of its oil, it might be Shell Oil or ExxonMobil or British Petroleum or anything else. Any company that is willing to take the risk and invest in your country will go through the trouble and use their factors of production and their capital that they have under their control to develop the means for extracting the oil and getting it to market, making the investments and developing the infrastructure, and hopefully are rewarded with the profits. Now, if you use foreign direct investment, then you make a contract and license it. And El Presidente, if you did this, the company would send in engineers, petroleum engineers, and try to determine how much oil it was and how difficult it would be to get. And then they would make a bid and start paying your country immediately for licensing rights to get that oil. So you could immediately, even before any oil is extracted, you could immediately start turning it into something beneficial for your country. But there are some risks of foreign direct investment, and we ought to look at the risks of foreign direct investment from the perspective of the company. A company that is investing billions of dollars into your country will be concerned with possible changes in environmental regulations. There's also the risk of unstable regimes or communist sympathies. When a country goes communist, they often seize all private properties for the state ownership, and that would mean that any investments that were made by the company this year might be lost entirely to the new communist regime. And that's a risk that they consider, especially in developing countries. There's also the amount of debt or poor earnings that the company will experience until the investment in your country pays off. And during that time, their share price will be down, and the risk that the high cost of financing that debt could threaten their livelihood and cash flow, earnings power, and stock performance is a very risk that they can face too. And there is that chance that there might not be as much light sweet crude in the ground as they hoped. And if it turns out that their projected reserves are much higher than what were actually there, then that's a danger that they run. So it's appropriate that the company should take these risks, though. My opinion and point of view is that they should be the ones that take the risk. That's why companies exist, to take risks, and they're the best ones suited for it. However, economic hitmen come on the scene, and they provide an evil alternative. John Perkins talks about how they would target a particular country, let's say Indonesia. He would send in, John Perkins would go into Indonesia and talk to the leaders of Indonesia and bring a briefcase full of money and basically bribe them to look at these projections. See, John Perkins would represent, say, an engineering company as well as some banks and some oil companies. And he would say, if you hire us to get the oil out, to build your hydroelectric dams, to build up your country, then I can show you these projections. You're going to be very, very wealthy. Great news. Exploration teams are coming back with reports of massive oil reserves within your borders. The bad news, your greatness, is that our petroleum is 1,000 kilometers deep into the jungle and under 5 miles of rock. Ay vey. If we harness this resource, our production possibilities frontier will expand, the incomes of our people will increase, and employment and services will grow. We'll advance our civilization. So this group, the corporatocracy, is a name Perkins coined to describe the web of multinational firms which cooperate with one another for mutual benefit, without regard to nationalism, and always with an eye towards exploitation and power. The economic hitmen are the ambassadors of the corporatocracy. The World Bank at the time was headed by Robert McNamara, and as an institution it was designed to provide loans to the developing world for these types of projects, but it was used by the economic hitmen to reach their ends. Your Excellency, these projects to improve your country can be funded through the World Bank. We can arrange to have your loans deposited in one of our banks in the U.S., and you can write the checks to the contractors as the jobs progress along. You will have absolute power of the purse. We only ask that you choose ourselves and friends to build these projects.